Students, today we're going to multiply fractions, specifically fractions times other fractions. So let's dive in. 3/5 of the class plays an instrument, and half of those students play a brass instrument. So half of those 3/5 of the class. What fraction of the class plays a brass instrument? So let's see what that would look like visually. We're looking for half of 3/5. So if this whole big rectangle was the entire class, these 3 out of 5 yellow bars would be the 3/5 who play an instrument. But we aren't looking for all those kids. We're only looking for half of that amount. So if I take that amount and I literally split it in half, this top half of those 3/5 would be playing brass instruments. Well, what is that? If I were to actually number each of those pieces, right, I had 3/5, I'm only looking at half of that. That winds up to be 3 pieces out of a total of 10 pieces. So 3 parts out of 10 would be playing brass instruments. But how do we do that without a picture? Because we're not going to expect you to draw a picture every single time. Well, in order to get 3 for my numerator, how did I get that? I multiplied 1 times 3 in my numerator times my other numerator. And how did I get 10 on the bottom? Well, 2 times 5 is 10. So that tells me I multiplied my denominator times my other denominator. So 3/10 of the class plays a brass musical instrument. We can do the same thing here with people. In this situation, 1/4 of the teachers are men, and 1/3 of that small group, 1/3 of the fourth, are coaches. So what fraction of the teachers are men who coach? Again, we're going to look at that visually. If this whole big rectangle represents all the teachers, well, the 1/4 is the men, but they don't all coach. Only some of them do. So we would take this small group and we're going to actually divide it up into thirds. So there's roughly about thirds. We're only going to look at one piece out of those 3. And you're going to see that's a very tiny amount compared to the entire group of teachers. If I was going to number those pieces, yellow is my 1/4. I have 1 out of 3, 1/3 of that fourth are coaches. So that's one little part of the population out of 12. Again, how did I get that numerically? Just writing the algorithm down. Well, to get 1, I multiplied 1 times 1, my numerators. And to get 12, I must have multiplied what? 3 times 4, my denominator. So 1/12 of the teachers are men who coach. We can do that, of course, without the pictures, without the words. What's 2/3 times 2/5? Your first step is to multiply our numerator times numerator on top. That gives us 4. What's our denominator going to be? Well, 3 times 5 gives us 15. So 4/15. 7/10 of 3/5. You might recognize that we have a word of there instead of a multiplication symbol. That's because of is a clue word for multiplication, right? We were finding one part out of a larger part and we were multiplying. So what is 7/10 of 3/5? We multiply our numerators on top, we multiply our denominators on the bottom, and what will our new fraction be? Our fraction will be 21 out of 50, or 21/50ths. Moving down to our left corner here, we see another word of. What does that mean? Of means multiplication. 7 times 1 gives us 7 for our numerator. Our denominator, well, that's going to be 8 times 2 to give us 16. And back to the old multiplication sign. Numerator times numerator, denominator times denominator. What is 5/9 times 2/3? It's going to be a number of 27ths. It'll be 10 27ths. And here's one last problem to close things out. 2/3 of the class plays a sport. So not the whole class, but part of the class does. And only half of those students play soccer. So we have a very small fraction of another fraction. What fraction of the whole class plays soccer? So we are looking for half of 2/3, half of 2/3. So we recognize the word of means multiplication. What is half of 2/3? We multiply our numerators, we multiply our denominators, and what fraction do we come up with? We come up with 2/6 of the whole class plays soccer. Now we could simplify that down to a third, but if you got to the 2/6 part, that shows us that you understand how multiplying fractions work. multiply your numerator times your numerator and your denominator times denominator. I hope that video helps us learn how to multiply a fraction times another fraction.